Ooh, how does a girl do at Chicanos? My wife sucks at Chicanos. Like, she does not pound meat. You did? She did? Well, one time I took a date on one, and it frustrated me. Ladies, if I'm going, do you guys know the rule of dates, basically? You let the other person order first, and that tells you your price limit, right? Do you guys know that's the rule of thumb? Well, I'm teaching you right now then. So I ordered some. Anyway. Yes. Yeah. Fun times. Oh, people. I gotta teach you so many things in life. Coming from the person that told me to hold off on the bell quiz a couple times. Huh? Okay, here we go. Can anybody tell me what's another name for sine 2u? Sine u plus u, right? Would you guys not agree, but u plus u is equal to 2u? So therefore, isn't this, now everybody shut up. I love you all, but now you asked me to get going, so I'm getting going. I'm showing you the formula. Isn't that what we learned last time, that u plus u, and then I just do the sum and difference formula, right? Correct? How many sine u's, cosine u's do I have? There's your formula. You might want to understand that concept because something on your test might be similar. Hi, Abby. Hey, by the way, you owe me a donut. That rule still holds into my domain. And from what I've been told, you guys owe a lot of donuts. That's what I've been told. I have sources. I need a strawberry fritter. This is the rule. It's in the definition of the rules that we stated. Okay. It is written. I will show it. It's in somewhere. We did write it down in our constitution as student council that if they kissed, they had to bring donuts. And I told your date I would slap him. But my wife's like, did you really just say that? I'm like, yes, I did. Uh-oh, yes. I thought I considered it every time. That's the rule. If you kiss somebody like within student council. Sometimes the reason why is we're trying to make it like, not that he couldn't have those relationships, but sometimes we had people that had those relationships and then they didn't like each other afterwards, and it's very hard to work with each other after that. You with me there? So we were kind of playing fun at it, but at the same time, we were kind of, yeah. Look at this. Do you guys see us how we're making our own formulas? Because we know how to do something. What is this one? Cosine squared u minus. Okay, now though, there's other ones that come along because of him. So that's one of the formulas, but cosine 2u has 3 formulas. And the reason being, what's another name for cosine squared? 1 minus sine squared u minus sine squared u. And what is 1 minus sine squared u minus sine squared u? 1 minus 2 sine squared of u. There's another one. Okay. But what's another name for sine squared? Cosine squared, right? 1 minus cosine squared. When I distribute that negative through, he becomes a plus, so I have cosine squared plus cosine squared, which is 2 cosine squared, u minus 1. So sine is 2 sine u cosine u. Cosine 2u is cosine squared minus sine squared, or 1 minus 2 sine squared, or 2 cosine squared minus 1. Here's the three. I will highlight them, the ones that you should know. You should know those ones. But obviously, if you know one of them, could you know the other two? You could, couldn't you? Okay, do you think I know tangent? I don't. Why don't I know tangent? Because it's sine over cosine, but just to let you guys know, here it is. You could have this on a 3x5 note card. Am I going to provide the 3x5 note card? Can you have a 3x5 piece of paper? Nope, we've talked about this, I believe, haven't we? Hence why I said 3x5 card. I want a card. I want effort into it to find a card, Katie Boz. That's awesome. As long as it's a 3x5, I'm cool. Like a recipe card. It has to be a card. It could be a 3x5 card. It could be a 3x5 whatever. I'm going to tell you what can go on it. So anything else on it that I don't want, then I throw it away. No, because I should. Well, what if you do? What if you really want it? Aren't you just going to do what I ask you to do? True, huh? You should. You should. Yeah, and we're going to have some tangents occasionally without cosines and sines. You should. What's another name for sine 2x, ladies and gentlemen? 2 sine x cosine x, right? What do those guys share? Hi, Randy. He did not come back to say hi. It's our formula. We just mentioned it. I know you don't have it internalized yet, but that's where it's at. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to you? This is one of our formulas that I just brought up. I like Carter all red. Just because you, right there. But instead of U's, they're X's this time, right? This next part, what do they have in common, chica? Factored like a tractor. You forgot factoring. Factoring is one of the key concepts for the rest of the world life of mathematics, however far you go. It'll be there. Hi. Maybe. What's up? I gotta keep teaching, so it depends on how long, because I'm running out of time. So, cosine of 0, where does cosine equal 0? Happens at pi halves and 3 pi halves, right? So that's technically pi halves plus pi n. Does everybody understand that? Because that happens pi halves, 3 pi halves, there's a half circle in between them. Correct? I remember your brother. I don't think I ever had your brother, though. Yes, I do. Have I leg wrestled anyone in here? Have I asked anyone? Okay, at least I've done my part. Okay, this answers 3 pi halves plus 2 pi n. But I have a question for you. Is it okay for me to write it? Hold on. N belongs to the integers. Okay, Is it okay if I don't have him? Would I have my same answer without it? Why, Kylie? Because the other one's doing pi halves plus pi n. It's already hitting 3 pi halves anyway, isn't it? So do I really need that other solution? I don't. Does that make sense? No. Just like I said, it could be a more simplified expression, right? Does that make sense to you? Okay. So if I know that the cosine of theta is 5 over 13, with theta being between 2 pi and 3 pi halves, so what quadrant is this theta in? It's in quadrant 4, so I'm going to draw a triangle in quadrant 4. Here's theta. And we know it's 5 over 13. We should understand what this triangle is. We've used it enough. This guy is negative 12, right? I want to find the sine of 2 theta. So what's our formula for sine of 2 theta again? 2 sine of theta, cosine of theta. Well, what's the sine of theta? Stand here. The sine of that is negative 12 over 13. Jexie, did you fall down? Just want to hurt people now. Can't hurt you without getting repercussions. Cosine of theta is 5/13, so if you'll notice, I get negative 120 over 169. Maybe I have a question on how I got that? Yes. No, because there's not a plus in there. It's kind of like saying 3 times 5 times 4. I don't go 3 times 5 and 3 times 4. I just go 3 times 5 is 15 times 4. Does that make sense to you? Now I'm going to find the cosine of 2 theta. Which equation should I use? Anybody? There's 3 of them. There's one that I would specifically use. Anybody tell me why I would use this one? Because I was already given cosine of theta, wasn't I? So what if I messed up my triangle, right? If I use this one, I already know what the cosine of theta is, so therefore I won't get it wrong. Does that make sense? So therefore I have 2. The cosine of theta was 5 over 13. We're squaring him, minus 1. Which is 5 squared is 25 times 2 is 50 over 169 minus 1, which is 169 over 169. Say again. Yep, hence why negative 169 over 169, which we get to be what? Negative 119. That was horrible. Let's just erase that. Negative 119 over 169. So how would I find the tangent of 2 theta? Once again, the reason why I don't know it a lot is because I can just do the sine over cosine, right? Left for F. Soccer players are so nice. Who do you guys play? Do you guys not have a game today? Tomorrow. 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 I'll love ya. Tomorrow. Something. Something away. A long time ago when it first came out. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, happy day for you. I don't know these ones. Well, I do right now because I just learned them last period. So what does that mean to you? You don't need to know them, so what does that mean to you? You can use a 3x5 card. Oh, sorry, these are theta over 2s. Sorry about that. This is half angles. Notice we're cutting an angle in half. Now, I'm going to explain, why do you guys think there's a plus or minus there? Because of the root? I can understand why you think that, but that's not the case. Yes, ma'am. It's not necessarily half a circle, but I like what you said there. So theta could be in one quadrant. It could be in quadrant 3. Give me any angle in quadrant 3. 240 degrees, right? So what would sine be at 240 degrees? Negative. What would cosine be? Negative. What would tangent be? Positive. But notice, I don't care about the sine of 240 degrees. I want to know what the sine of 240 divided by 2 is, which is 120, which is in quadrant 2. So therefore, in quadrant 2, what will sine be? Positive or negative? Positive. So therefore, I do the positive solution. Cosine of 120, what would it be? Negative. So therefore, I'd use the negative square root. So does every answer have plus or minus? No. It depends on where quadrant you're in for theta over 2. Does that make sense? So please understand, it's not plus or minus this answer. It's plus or minus because it could either be positive or negative depending upon what quadrant it's in. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay? What I mean by that is, let's say, oops, I don't want that. Cosine of 300. Okay, not 300, 150. Oh my goodness, what do I want to say? Okay, we'll do that. That's perfect. Hold on. Cosine of 75 degrees. What quadrant is cosine of 75 in? 1, right? So therefore, sine should come out positive. Cosine should come out positive. Tangent should come out positive. So what I would do here is, notice though, this is cosine of 150 divided by 2, isn't it? So isn't 150 my theta in terms of that equation? So if I was looking for the sine of 75, I would say, okay, well, sine of 75 is plus, because I'm in quadrant 1, 1 minus the cosine of 150 over 2. So then I say, okay, well, that's 1 minus the cosine of 150 is negative root 3 over 2 over 2. For that to equal 2 plus root 3 over 4. This is all underneath the square root, which is equal to square root of 2 plus the square root of 3 all over 2. All I did was plugged and chugged. That's really all that happened there. But notice, really, we wanted to know what cosine of 75 was, didn't we? So once again, cosine of 75, who would be my theta this time because I'm doing a half angle? 150, right? Now, is he a positive or negative? Positive because cosine of 75 is in quadrant 1, huh? So I have 1 plus the cosine of 150 over 2, which equals 1 plus cosine of 150 is negative root 3 over 2, which is 2 minus root 3 underneath the square root all over 2. Now I'm telling you here, you never want to do a tangent in these ones because it becomes nasty if you try to do sine over cosine. I would personally use the formula because it's a lot prettier. Okay? But let me explain this guy. This guy's kind of important. If I said, okay, cosine of u is equal to 4/5, and I'm telling you that u is less than 2 pi, but greater than or equal to 3 pi halves. Where is u located? What quadrant is u located in? 4. If I want you to find the sine of u over 2, where would he be located? Well, let me show you how to figure this out. Well, don't I want, instead of u right here, I want u over 2? So what do I do to all three of these things? Divided by 2. So 3 pi halves divided by 2 would be 3 pi fourths, less than or equal to u over 2, less than or equal to pi. So angle u over 2 is in which quadrant? Angle quadrant 2, huh? So is sine positive or negative there? Positive, so would I do a plus or minus, or would I just have the positive result? I would just have the positive result. What if I was asking for the cosine of u over 2? It would come out negative, wouldn't it? Because cosine in quadrant 2 is negative. What would tangent come out to be? Negative, because we are in quadrant 2. Does it make sense that I have to see what quadrant u over 2 is in to justify whether it's a plus or a minus on the outside? Okay, that's the biggest thinking part, because a lot of this is just plug and chug. Let's be honest. Yes, sir. Use the plus or minus to determine for that quadrant. So in this case, because u over 2 is in quadrant 2, I know I'm just going to use the positive. So therefore, I'd go 1 minus the cosine of u over 2. So therefore, in my case, I would have 1 minus the cosine of u was 4/5, I believe. Am I correct in that statement? Over 2, which is 1/5 over 2 underneath the square root, which is the square root of 1/10, which is, hopefully you guys understand, that's root 10 over 10. Okay? Now if I was looking for the cosine of u over 2, his would be negative square root, because in quadrant 2, cosine is negative, right? So that's why I'd put the negative there. Does that make sense to everybody? You have to determine which quadrant u over 2 is in. Okay? So therefore, this would be 1 plus cosine of u, which is 4/5, all over 2. Let me hurry and get your homework right there if you didn't grab it earlier. That was pretty much 90% of the lesson.